What's going on, everybody? This is your boy, Mr. E, boss of the Southside Bosses here on BOSS Radios, talking but ain't saying nothing. You know the show where we like to bring y'all some of the best topics to talk about, some of the best current events that you probably didn't even hear of. So today we got a real good question and a story to back it up. We want to know, what would you do if your whole city's police department resigned? This is something that actually happened in Kinley, North Carolina, so we definitely want to talk about that and actually show y'all what happened, why, because apparently it has something to do with the black woman that was hired to be the manager of Kinley, North Carolina. The city, yes. So we will definitely talk to y'all about that. So after a word from one of our sponsors and a little bit of music from your boy, Mr. E the Gutter Baby, we'll be discussing this in full effect. You heard me? You already know you listening to
BOSS Radio.
This is talking. I ain't saying nothing.
Nagra Beats.
Scorp Beats.
Don't talk to him.
When I was down, ain't nobody give a shit. And now I'm on a nigga, gotta pay the rent. I done been there, I done done that ever since I was a kid. Said I always had ambition and my dreams was always big. You can do it. You can do it. Don't play no games with them. You can do it. Yeah. Listen. You can do it. You can do it. If it's wrong, then make it right. You can do it. You can do it. Yeah. You can do it.
I see what it means to be stuck at the bottom. How the been trapped in a cage with travesty hidden. Everybody just said drop 'em. I've been buried alive, left to suffer to die, but I swear to you, I never gave up. Niggas squirming on the ground, tell them stay down, but I found a way up. Ever since my mom passed, I wandered throughout the wilderness, and she your daily misses. I never get the miss, never got used to the awkwardness. I'm feeling deep down in my chest. Use it as a passion to drive to get up on the grind and try to make it out the gutter. Born in it though, so all I ever had was the everlasting struggle till I get a come up. And I can't stop there. My oldest Naciel needs a house on 100 acres real quick. Joaquin needs his own business that would have him on all 7 continents making deal pics. Only thing broke would be the generational curse. I won't leave my children living off worse. When cowards come to punch my ticket, then they got a brother leaving this all right here in the hearse.
When I was down, ain't nobody give a shit. And now I'm on a nigga, gotta pay the rent. I done been there, I done done that ever since I was a kid. Said I always had ambition and my dreams was always big. You can do it. You can do it. Don't play no games with them. You can do it. Yeah. Listen. You can do it. You can do it. If it's wrong, then make it right. You can do it. You can do it. Yeah. You can do it.
Fell from the top real hard, put in my work, you could call me Hustle God. Charged up like a cell phone, now it's on, so I'm guaranteed to make it to the top. Fell bad, let the fade blow away, took the ritter, stayed in with a bulldozer, made a new way. When you focus on success, it's the best design when it comes to your different mind states. Wait, patience was the key when it all fell down, had to understand that it wasn't in the plan. Goddamn, many hypocrites smiling as I fell, hoping that I'd break when I land. I couldn't see what I had was a pocket full of trash, as all the cowards they claimed to be my friend. Really hung around for the joy, never down for the boy, never wasn't even my fan. I get a dude won't believe their ass when I'm sober. Gotta focus on the spirit, getting a little colder. Everything I do is soda from the flow up. Had to own up and roll like a boulder. True soldier, lit up boss my frame. No way, I'ma play. Stop acting like you lame. I'm out of my business, doing me show. This outside riding, staying in my lane. Baby.
When I was down, ain't nobody give a shit. And now I'm on a nigga, gotta pay the rent. I done been there, I done done that ever since I was a kid. Said I always had ambition and my dreams was always big. You can do it. You can do it. Don't play no games with them. You can do it. Yeah. Listen. You can do it. You can do it. If it's wrong, then make it right. You can do it. You can do it. Yeah. You can do it.
BOS says Southside Ball Radio.
This is talking, but ain't saying nothing.
Yes, it is. This is talking, but ain't saying nothing here on BOSS Radio. I hope y'all already took the time to hit that like, follow, or subscribe button on your favorite streaming service, whether it's Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Amazon MP3, and more. We're located all over, so you ain't got no excuse to not be able to hear this show. But like I was saying before we took the break, it turns out that a whole police department just decided to put in their resignations. Kinley, North Carolina Police Department is no longer in work. Well, in the next 2 weeks, they would not have a police department. So, what happened? Well, before we get into that, let's talk about Justine Jones. Justine Jones is the new Kinley, North Carolina city manager that was hired by the city council in order to be able to, manage the city. I mean, that's what a city manager does, right? Well, a lot of people don't know that the police department's contract lies within the hands of the mayor and the city council. That's why they're not really law enforcement, they're policy enforcers. But that's another subject for another day. But what happened to Justine Jones prior to coming to North Carolina is what is really touching me on this, was really actually giving me some kind of weird vibes, because apparently she was a former Richland County in South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina employee, and she spoke out about over 6 years ago, making claims that she was fired for speaking up during the development of the Richland penny tax program. She came out and said that, "I certainly hope that those individuals are held accountable." Now, Jones was the former assistant director of the Office of Small Business Opportunities in Richland County and is opening up to what she claims is a wrongful termination. In a 25-page lawsuit against Richland County, Jones claims that there was race, gender, and disability discrimination against her, as well as a whistleblower retaliation over a small business program within the penny tax project. Now, she said, "I saw that there were certain practices going on and I wasn't going to go along with that." So she was a black sister standing up for her black people, you know what I'm saying? So she was actually putting in at work while everybody else was, pretty much not putting in their work. I'm sorry, I got to call y'all out on that. But she was actually putting in that work. When she saw something, she said something. When she had an opportunity to do something, she did something. And then hence, she was fired for that out of South Carolina. So she continued she made a lawsuit, and she was going in on a lawsuit. Now, we don't know the actual specifics of how that lawsuit came about, but it was voluntarily dismissed, meaning that that she had to have pled out worked something out arbitrarily outside of the court system. Now, she goes on to say, "We had a few instances where there were businesses that clearly did not have any roadwork, construction, architecture, engineering capability that were applying to the program with real expectations that they would be certified and put on a project. I could not in good conscience sign off on that." Now, this is like she's putting her foot down. All these businesses who were not minority businesses was trying to use money for things that they couldn't use that money for, so they fired her. She says she rejected some of those applicants that came through again, and I got the backlash from some of those council members who resented and felt that at that point I was a problem and I somehow impeded their effort to control the money and keep it kind of free for all, says Jones. I was not the one to go along with that, and that was the problem for a number of people. When you stand up, they will do something to you. This is why Jones was terminated on March 30th, 2015, after she said she took too long to sign a memorandum of understanding from her supervisor, which spelled out issues that her supervisor had with Jones's work. It was a practice that had never been done in Richley County and has never been done since, says Jones, meaning that she was singled out. Now that's why Jones was suing for back pay and lost benefits, saying that this program that was promised to taxpayers and funded with taxpayers' dollars is not going to the individuals who the program was designed for. Instead, it's going to a number of other individuals who are engaging in some degree of activity that is questionable, meaning that they could have been criminals. Now, I believe they were criminals because we already know there's plenty of criminals in the court system. So she got fired. She applied for the city manager job at Kinley, and not only did she get the job, she beat out 60 other applicants. There was almost 60 other applicants that put in for it, and she got the job. Well, guess what happened after that? She got the job in, I believe, May of this year. So she hasn't even been in that job a good 2 months yet, before the police officers and other officials in the small town of Kinley submitted mass resignation letters citing stress, a hostile work environment, and an inability to continue the department's long-term betterment projects. Wow. Now, they said this in a letter to the town manager. They said in a letter to town manager Justine Jones, Police Chief Josh Gibson expressed regret toward the negative changes he felt were occurring in the department. He said, in my 21 years at the Kinley Police Department, we have seen ups and downs, but especially in the last 3 years, we have made substantial progress that we had hoped to continue. However, due to the hostile work environment now present in the town of Kinley, I do not believe progress is even possible. Now, neither the police department nor Jones has been willing to speak to the media on the nature of these complaints, so we don't know exactly what was changed, but we do know that these changes started in the past, the changes that they're complaining about started in the past couple months. This is why they say with heavy heart that I take this action. I have been with the town since 2004. This is the Officer G.W. Strong. He said that and fully expected to finish my law enforcement career with the town of Kinley. Unfortunately, there are decisions being made that jeopardize my safety and make me question what the future will hold for a Kinley police officer. Now, while all others addressed their resignations to Gibson, the police chief himself submitted his to Jones himself. Now, that right there shows some kind of animosity between the police chief and Jones, because they weren't even talking about resignation until she actually got into office. So Jones was just hired as town manager last month. Now, she was serving in various local government positions in other states, and her new position was celebrated by the town in Kinley in a June press release. It said that Jones has dedicated her career to public service over the last 16 years, during which she worked in progressively responsible positions with local governments in Minnesota, Virginia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. She began her municipal career as the executive assistant of the city manager and national urban fellow in the city of Norfolk, Virginia. Now, let's go back to that part where she worked in progressively responsible positions, meaning that she was put in positions to actually make progress or be a progressive or push the meter forward and get some things done. Well, they didn't like that. They wanted the conservative city to stay a conservative city. The police department wanted to continue to do the things that they had been doing already, which, as we see in the news all over, that isn't how that works. That isn't. Now, you're going to have to make some kind of progress some kind of way. Some kind of way you got to make that progress. So if you're not making that progress, you're stuck in a stagnant position. When you're stuck in a stagnant position, then it is very hard to move forward, and it's and you're going to make a lot of young people mad. I live in a city right now where the city council do not want to bring new things here because they said it will attract people here, and they don't want to attract people here. Now, I don't understand how that works, because I do know that a lot of money comes from outside the city. It does. It does come out. It comes from outside the city. So if that works like, if that's how that works, then you want people to come to the city. You build things not only to bring people here, but to also help them, help your own residents have something they want to stay for. So guess what's going on? Well, what's going on now is the fact that everybody's moving out. People are moving out because they want to go to a city where it's fun. They don't want to just work and go home. They want to work and go have fun and go home. They want to work and have a safe environment to go have fun in. And it's clearly not applicable when you have the police department ravaging people. And you know, when is the last time you've seen a block party? I remember back in the 90s, there used to be block parties. There's no more block parties now. True, there were instances where there were some block parties where there was some negative instances happen and made you, hey, well, maybe we shouldn't do this no more. But that wasn't like it was happening at every block party. So what they did was they ended up stopping all block parties. And once you get a block party started, they show up. And when they show up, the fun stops. Don't nobody want to do this no more with them. Don't nobody want to do this no more with them. So when we get a city manager in that actually does something about that, look what happens. They quit. Now, to me, that doesn't signify strength. That signifies narcissism, because now you're trying to force this person or these people in order to, you know, get these things done the way that you want to get them done. And you don't want it to compromise. You don't want to sit down. I haven't read in here that they have sat down with the city manager at any given point to try to talk about what needed to be done. Because if you obviously have an issue with it, then don't you need to actually bring this up to the person you have an issue with? And if you do bring this up to the person you have an issue with, wouldn't it be even, when you come to an understanding, a compromise or something like that? Or you separate ways, you part ways. But here, they just decided to part ways. Now, one good thing about Kinley, you don't have to worry about not having any kind of police presence, because the sheriff department, who I believe is constitutionally obligated to protect and serve, they will be taking over for the police department. Now, they have gone on to say that they're not used to this. They've never had, no sheriff, I don't think any sheriff's department ever had to deal with a whole police department just quitting. Now, I don't believe these officers should be able to go, or excuse me, these policy enforcers should be able to go to another city or anything and join another police force. And I'm going to tell you why. If they'll quit on one, they'll quit on another one. You're supposed to be here through tough times, through thick and thin, but you didn't. That's why they called you the thin blue line, I guess, because you wasn't going to stick to it. I'm just saying. It sounds like there's a lot to encompass on that, huh? But, you know, I just think that while they take these next few weeks or whatever to figure out what they're going to do, we're going to be trying to keep up with this. We already got a notification on this, so make sure y'all hit us up on your favorite streaming service, whether it's Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, and more. That is talking but ain't saying nothing on BOSS Radio. Thank you for listening. I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope y'all even got some things to say. Hit that chat button and let us know. This is your boy, Mr. E, boss of the Southside Bosses with glory. Then a word from one of our sponsors, and y'all have a great evening.
They been trying very, very hard to keep me out this game. I just got one question. What you afraid of?
I think we're gonna be friends.
Hardly. You niggas never invited this boy to the party. Standing outside in the cold rain, looking through the window, see you turn it up like car keys. So low with the mind frame, but I came with my game, cause ain't a damn thing gon' change. Stayed in my lane, fry label pay, sippin' Dre, saying to myself what they is gon' change. So I focus on the game plan, to put them all on their knees like they about to say amen. Got them crying like Rayman, ain't a strange man, all I wanted was the screens for the bandstand. So I aim to get the stacks to the ceiling. When you hear this, you'll be feeling my story. I used to only want the money, but now I'm coming for the glory.
The clouds have opened up, and I've been seen in all of my glory. Suddenly, the clouds have opened up, and I've been seen in all of my glory. Suddenly,
So I aim to get the stacks to the ceiling. When you hear this, you'll be feeling my story. I used to only want the money, but now I'm coming for the glory. So I aim to get the stacks to the ceiling. When you hear this, you'll be feeling my story. I used to only want the money, but now I'm coming for the glory.
We're gonna be friends.
Remember that little scroll talking about what he's gonna do to obtain success. He was 10 toes down, made progress, while the congregation hated like Congress. I can't say I have a status, but Nipsey brought the hustle back, so now the bosses got this. We about the block back, can't stop that for the suburbs, on the way to the projects. No longer treated like objects, tossed to the side, we glide, no matter with the weather. I remember living hard, so I have to stay fly, so baby, you fucking with a treasure. This ain't like a scary movie, the end it might just be a little bit gory. Nothing else is gonna stand in between me and glory.
We're gonna be friends.
The clouds have opened up, and I've been seen in all of my glory. Suddenly, the clouds have opened up, and I've been seen in all of my glory. Suddenly.
So I aim to get the stacks to the ceiling. When you hear this, you be feeling my story. I used to only want the money, but now I'm coming for the glory. So I aim to get the stacks to the ceiling. When you hear this, you be feeling my story. I used to only want the money, but now I'm coming for the
We're gonna
glory.
be friends.
My mom told me not to ever let these cowards play me. You lose it all in the blink of an eye. So true, while they pointing at the white man, they planted on my back while holding a big knife. Now they're gonna need a crossbow, cause I need 50 feet before I take a seat. Back to the wall, no room for slipping. Let me see it all when it comes to take a G. There's no fakery, the money come fast like a sale at the trap bakery. You could be kidding me, I'm still here to sweet lick like you some kind of candy man. This is for the time I spent. I know that baby out there is checking for me. I guarantee it's not me, but the glory.
We're gonna be friends.
The clouds have opened up, and I've been seen in all of my glory. Suddenly, the clouds have opened up, and I've been seen in all of my glory. Suddenly.
So I aim to get the stacks to the ceiling. When you hear this, you be feeling my story. I used to only want the money, but now I'm coming for the glory. So I aim to get the stacks to the ceiling. When you hear this, you be feeling my story. I used to only want the money, but now I'm coming for the
We're gonna
glory.
be friends.
Have you ever seen someone do something so outrageous that you can't help but think, this stupid crazy situations happen all the time, and people get into situationships on a regular. So, what would you do if you were in their place? Check out our podcast as we discuss just that on What Would You Do podcast on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and all your other favorite streaming services. Make sure to search hashtag What Would You Do podcast.